Okay guys, today I'm back for another video, and this is going to be a movie review for The Amazing Spider-Man 2. And I saw this movie on April 16th, its release date in the UK. And yeah, so before I actually get into the movie review itself, I just want to remind everyone that I'm doing a Q&A to celebrate me getting 200 subscribers. So just a reminder to everyone, if you want to leave a question, just leave in the comments section below in my previous video. So just a reminder there. But onto the movie review itself, I guess I should start off by saying that I did enjoy the first Amazing Spider-Man film, and maybe not as much as the second Sam Raimi Spider-Man film, because that's by far one of my favourite comic book movies and definitely my favourite Spider-Man film. But so yeah, I did enjoy the first film, and overall I would say I enjoyed this one as well. I did think though, I guess I had to say one major complaint, it would be the fact that I had far too much going on. I didn't think it was as muddled as, say, Spider-Man 3, but I think people forget that there was a lot of other problems with Spider-Man 3, and it definitely is nowhere near as on the level of Spider-Man 3, and I think the camera's gone all fuzzy there. Hopefully it'll focus. There we go. So, yeah, so as you can tell from the title, this is going to be a non-spoiler review, so I'm not going to spoil anything for those who haven't seen the film. However, this is a really frustrating film to review because there's so much stuff I have to talk about that are spoiler related, and so I will talk about some spoiler related things. However, I'll wait till the end of the video to talk about them. So this will be the non-spoiler section, and then I'll do a spoiler section, so you'll know when to turn off if you haven't seen the film. So I guess I should start off by talking about the plot of the film. Now basically the plot is, without spoiling anything, there's so much to talk about, like I said, but Peter Parker's enjoying his life as Spider-Man. He's enjoying the role that he plays to the city of New York, and he's just enjoying his time as Spider-Man. He's living with his Aunt May, who's working, she's training to be a nurse, to earn enough money to put Peter through college after he graduates high school, which he does at the start of this film. And Peter has to end his relationship with Gwen Stacy after he starts seeing visions of her late father, Captain Stacy. And if you've seen the first movie, you know Captain Stacy died, and his dying wish to Peter was that he, as Spider-Man, he would leave Gwen out of it. He would not, he wouldn't be in a relationship with Gwen because being Spider-Man puts her at risk. But he stops for a while, and then at the very end of the first movie they get back together again. And this movie starts off not too far after the first movie, so they're still together, but he starts being unable to live with himself, and he ends the relationship. So that's one part of the film. Another part of the film is an Oscorp employee, Max Dillon, who becomes obsessed with Spider-Man after Spider-Man saves his life. And he's a nobody, he feels nobody cares about him, and then finally somebody showed some sort of care for him, and now he becomes obsessed with Spider-Man. And then after a maintenance accident, he becomes the villain Electro. So, and then another villain, which is a third part of the movie, is Harry Osborn. He comes back to New York City after being sent away to boarding school, I believe, at the age of 11. And he's a childhood friend of Peter Parker. I've got notes here. And he comes back to see his father, Norman Osborn, who's the CEO of Oscorp. And his father is dying of a disease that he reveals to Harry is genetic, so Harry's going to get it eventually. He's already shown signs of contracting the disease, and it's a genetic disease. So Norman Osborn dies, and Harry inherits Oscorp, and he basically finds out that the only way to cure his disease is the fact that he needs Spider-Man's blood. I could go into a whole other detail about how he figures that out, but I won't spoil that. So he finds out that he needs Spider-Man's blood to get the cure for it himself. He doesn't know though that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. So that's basically some of the plot. We also find out more about Peter's parents. So like I said, a lot to talk about. But in terms of performances, Andrew Garfield as Peter Parker, I've always liked him. He's a really good Spider-Man, the way he talks trash while he's fighting. He always does that well. He's a pretty good Peter Parker as well. So, and then of course Emma Stone as Gwen Stacy. She's great, and the chemistry between those two is very apparent. Obviously, they're in a relationship in real life, so it definitely contributes to the performance on screen as well. And one other reoccurring cast member is Sally Field as Aunt May. She was particularly an improvement in this movie as opposed to the first one, which even then I liked her in. However, there was a lot of good moments between her as she's taking on more of this mother role as opposed to aunt role to Peter, and there's a lot of good moments between those two there. And on to some newer cast members. Of course, Dane DeHaan as Harry Osborn, aka Green Goblin. He was my favourite villain. Dane DeHaan's a good actor, a really good actor actually, and of course I've seen him in Chronicle, which I got on Blu-ray recently. It's a really good movie, and he's really great in that. And he really done his best here, even when there was really poor dialogue in the movie. He just definitely done really well, and he's my favourite villain. And Jamie Foxx as Max Dillon, aka Electro. He was very good as well. We all know how good Jamie Foxx is, and it was a really good dynamic where we had to feel sorry for him. However, there was some problems there where I was unsure whether we were to feel sorry for him or be creeped out by him because of his obsession with Spider-Man. But overall, I think the gist was that you were to feel sorry for him, which was a good dynamic. Chris Cooper as Norman Osborn. He's only in it for not long at all, really. So, but for what he was worth, he's a good actor, Chris Cooper. So, and then Paul Giamatti as Rhino. He was really over the top. He's not in it much either, but yeah, I like Paul Giamatti as well. The tone of the movie I really like. I really like that it's really out there and comic booky, and yeah, I like that a lot about it. The fight scenes, the fight scenes were decent. The Times Square fight scene, the Clock Tower fight scene was my favourite, which I'll get into in the spoiler section. The soundtrack in particular I liked a lot. That was especially when you compare it to the first movie, which the soundtrack was okay, I guess, but nothing really stood out. This one was much better. And I guess now I just need to move on to the spoiler section because there's so little I can talk about without spoiling anything. So if you haven't seen the movie, I recommend you don't watch ahead. Go check out the movie because I did enjoy it and I definitely think it's worth checking out. And then come back and hear my thoughts on spoiler stuff. So, on to the spoilers. J. Jonah Jameson is mentioned in the movie. He's not in the movie, but he is mentioned, so that was kind of cool. If he was ever to be in the movie, one of these amazing Spider-Man movies, I would say you definitely need to bring back J.K. Simmons because he's like a mini Robert Downey Jr. Like how Robert Downey Jr. is exactly like Iron Man. They're the same person almost. J.K. Simmons is kind of like that. He is J. Jonah Jameson. So, Felicity Jones is in fact playing Felicia Hardy, who in the comics, if you don't know, becomes Black Cat. So I think this has been well known for some time now. I don't think they confirmed it, but it's pretty well known that that's who she was playing. So yeah, she is in fact Felicia Hardy, and she is Norman Osborn's assistant, becomes Harry Osborn's assistant. We find out that Oscorp were trying to use Richard Parker's research as bioweapons, and that's why he had to run away and died in a plane accident, or not an accident. They were assassinated by this guy who was sent to kill them. Spider-Man and Gwen defeat Electro. I don't think he's dead. They didn't really hint to him coming back, but it's pretty evident that he's coming back. Harry takes the venom from the spiders that Richard Parker was testing on, which increases the rate of his disease, and he becomes the Green Goblin, which was a different version of the Goblin, but I still liked it, and it makes sense from the Oscorp storyline. The Goblin kidnaps Gwen after the Electro fight, takes her to the Clock Tower, and this was my favourite fight scene because it was really tense because I knew what was coming. Spider-Man goes to save her, and there's a fight scene there, really tense. It's different from the comic book slightly, but it's really tense when there's like they're on the gears of the Clock Tower and the web snaps and she falls, and he gets her just in time. Well, he shoots a web for her and he catches her, but she hits the back of her head off the ground and she dies. And it was a really good scene, the actor's done a really good job, and of course she dies, which I think has been rumoured for some time now, and I've actually been disappointed if she didn't die because of how much it's been built up to, so that was good, that whole scene. But basically it shows that he's stopped being Spider-Man for quite some time, and after months, then he goes back to it after listening to a speech that she gave at the graduation. It was like a motivational speech, and then it ends with him fighting the Rhino. And I don't know how I like that ending. I thought it was I didn't like it all that much. I feel like it didn't show that he properly took the hit. I know what they were trying to go for, but I'd have preferred it if he didn't go back to Spider-Man at the end. Because that stuff was so strong that it kind of felt wasted by the end, but yeah. And then throughout, I think towards the end, we see the man from the first movie who went to see Dr. Connors in his lab, and he's speaking to Harry in prison, and they're talking about some sort of number, keeping it small, clearly hinting at the Sinister Six, which we know there's a movie coming out about them. And we obviously see the Doc Ock tentacles in the movie, the Vulture wings. Definitely setting up a Sinister Six movie, which I'm expecting to be out sometime, maybe 2017, 2018. The third movie is due out 2016, and of course that's not going to be Sinister Six, because it's going to be a whole separate Sinister Six movie. And the last thing I'm going to talk about is the post-credit scene. There's none. There may be once it's out in the US, because there was definitely, I heard reports, okay, there was all these reports about the movie, that there was going to be a post-credit scene where the man in shadows goes up to a chamber where Norman Osborn's head is cryogenically frozen, and he says something to the effect of, "Wake up, old friend." And yeah, so I heard that was happening. I saw set photos of it. I think the scene exists and will probably be added to the American cut of the film once it's released in theatres then. Maybe it just wasn't ready for the UK release, or they're just saving it for the US release. But basically all we got was essentially a clip from X-Men Days of Future Past, which is not a connection to the franchise at all. They're not trying to bridge Spider-Man and X-Men together. It was simply because, from what I hear, they had to do it because Fox had gave Sony the rights for Mark Webb to direct the movie, and in return they had to promote X-Men Days of Future Past. So that kind of annoyed me. I didn't really concentrate on the clip because I was so confused, but I am looking forward to that movie though, and that's all I have to talk about. So I did enjoy the movie overall, and feel free to leave in the comments below your thoughts on this movie, or the first movie, or both if you wish. And yeah, once again, I'm doing a Q&A, so feel free to check that video out. And yeah, hope you enjoyed the video, guys. I'll be back with more videos soon, and thanks for watching.